Why is everyone so mad that Wild deodorant has been bought by Unilever? Like, isn't this just helping an eco brand scale up? Is it not proving investment in the eco community? Is it not making refillable, plastic-free beauty more accessible? Short answer, no, it's not a good thing, but we're gonna kind of like delve into it, especially if you're kind of like new to the space. I feel like it's been a while since I've had the story of a big brand like Unilever buying a smaller, independent, quite green, vegan brand like Wild deodorant. It's not a conversation we've had for a while, and I've seen a lot of people online really frustrated and looking for alternatives to Wild, and other people may be feeling a little bit confused, like what's the big deal? It's like, is this not a good thing? So I thought I'd shed some light on this conversation and kind of explain why it's not necessarily that great. So in this video, we're going to break down why people are mad, why this isn't quite the environmental win you think it is, why you don't want your money going towards Unilever, and some alternatives that you can shop instead of continuing to buy Wild. So first off, I just want to say it's hugely frustrating for a lot of Wild customers. It's not a brand I was still using because it didn't work for me, but it's a brand I tried in the past, and like a lot of people, I found my way to the brand because I didn't want to support brands like Unilever. I wanted to support an independent brand with an eco conscience and trying to do things a bit different and a bit greener and vegan and cruelty-free. I wanted to support this sort of thing. So when you support and fund a brand like Wild, just to see them sell off to a brand like Unilever, you just feel like betrayed, disheartened. Sorry, can you hear the ice cream van? God's sake, that's probably full of Unilever products too. They're everywhere. They're coming for me. I've lost my train of thought. Sorry, we get frustrated, but it's just really frustrating to see. It's like, we supported you so that I could support someone independent, so that the money I was spending wasn't just getting trickled back to the same few companies with every purchase. And then this brand goes off and sells out. And it does seem to be the entrepreneurial dream, is to like create a company, get big and sell to one of the big companies and then run away with your wealth. I understand why that is appealing and I understand the allure of it, but it's just so frustrating as a customer. It doesn't always end up this way, but ends up this way too often, right? And it's just so frustrating, especially when you have supported this brand and helped them grow, which I'm not really in the situation of, but people who have are really annoyed, especially if they found a deodorant that works for them and something that sits for them ethically, and now they're like, great, how do I refill my Wild without supporting Wild, you know? And especially with it being like a vegan product and a green product, a lot of people in this sort of space do care about animal testing. And look, generally the rules of cruelty-free is if Wild are cruelty-free and they're bought by Unilever who are not cruelty-free, Wild are still cruelty-free. Yeah, this is where you get into the parent company debate, which has been hot amongst cruelty-free consumers for a long time. But the argument is, I do not want to buy from Wild now they're owned by Unilever, because ultimately, where do the profits go, right? If I buy from Wild, my money is supporting Wild and Unilever are not cruelty-free, and that is not something I want to support in any financial way. So I'm not going to buy Wild anymore because there are other alternatives out there that don't lead down that path, basically, that are cruelty-free in the end there. They're not owned by anyone else who will test on animals. I feel like there is a divide in the cruelty-free consumer camp on this, and sometimes it might just depend on how available alternatives are to you based on like where you live and your budget and stuff. Also how much effort you're wanting to put in. It can get quite exhausting for some people, I appreciate, but generally a lot of us will avoid Unilever. And Unilever is one of those brands that I work hard to avoid, and same for a lot of people in this community. And on a tangent to that, and something I don't think is actually spoken about much at all at the moment, but hopefully will kind of become a bit more of a prevalent conversation given the current state of the world. But I feel like we're all getting increasingly exhausted and stretched by the big divide between the mega wealthy and everyone else. And Unilever are definitely one of the biggest corporations in the world, definitely in the mega wealthy camp, and I don't want my money to be trickling up there, basically. It's not something I want to do, especially when it's easy to buy elsewhere. Beyond the animal testing thing, I just don't want my money going up towards making Unilever richer. They already own so much on the beauty shelves, like Dove, Lynx, Tresemme, Ren, Vaseline, Radox, Hourglass, Shea Moisturizer. Like, there are so many brands that they already own. They already have so much on the shelves, just bringing the profits up to them, that we don't need another. We just do not need another. And it's just frustrating to see. It's so frustrating to see another bit of shelf space go to them, because Wild is actually in my Sainsbury's. It's got like supermarket shelf space, which is generally taken up by the mega big brands. So to see that one kind of go from being an independent on the shelf to a Unilever brand on the shelf, it's just, oh, it's so frustrating. And I know it's a sentiment a lot of people feel. So this is one of the reasons why it is just like really tough to see and frustrating for ethical consumers. And I think the next reason why we're really annoyed is basically what happens next. So there was an article in The Guardian about the sale, and the Wild team kind of described this acquisition as an exciting new chapter for Wild, and that having access to the consumer groups, distribution networks and research and development would help Wild in its ultimate mission to remove plastic from the average Joe's bathroom and make sustainability mainstream. This could mean lower prices for consumers. With scale, essentially, prices come down, he said. I recommend you keep an eye on that. Bowles Leon was not concerned about the brand losing its independence. The brand will stay pretty much as it is, and Unilever see themselves as a kind of support role for us to help us grow. Yeah, we'll definitely get onto that sentiment in a bit. But basically, the idea is they're saying they're going to get all these resources and help from Unilever, which help them get a scale and make the world a little bit of a better place. I think a lot of us are very skeptical about this because generally what happens when a small brand gets bought by a big brand is generally that the big brand is going to squeeze it for more profit, basically, which means degrading the product that we're buying, whether or not that's like shrinkflation or changing the ingredients to cheaper alternatives or getting us to buy more. But yeah, this business is 100% just out for profits. That's all Unilever cares about. They are not here to do a good job in the world. And I feel like this was already kind of prevalent in Wild, so it doesn't feel like that big a loss, just because I guess I was never a fan of the brand because the deodorant didn't work for me. And also I just was always off put by how many limited edition refill cases they do. So even like when I was researching this, I went onto their website and I could see they had a limited edition case from Christmas where they had like snowflakes on it, and now they've got one for Easter with like mini eggs on it, and it's not really screaming reusable, is it? Or like you only need one. It's more like you need one for every season, get it to match your outfit or something. I don't understand why you need a mini egg themed deodorant case. I understand having different options for your customers like pastel pink and royal blue and army green. I don't know, it makes sense to have choices, but stuff like this, which is so seasonal, just doesn't really feel timeless. It feels very much more like fast fashion and trend cycly, and doesn't quite sit well with me. It doesn't seem like something a real sustainable brand would do. It seems like a capitalist move. Like, to be a cynic, not gonna lie. I don't know if you guys agree with me. Maybe I'm just being a bit salty here, but it always rubbed me up the wrong way. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a few more of these like limited edition cases or collabs with like your favorite artist or your favorite singer, just so that they get you to buy a new one to replace your old one, even though this is something that should be timeless. And yeah, I think it's just very frustrating hearing anyone kind of act like this is Unilever doing a good thing for the environment. Like, they're investing in a sustainable brand. They are trying to reduce plastic. Like, no, they are one of the biggest plastic polluters in the world. Greenpeace are always calling them out. Ugh, back to the laptop. Like here, Unilever sells 1,700 highly polluting throwaway plastic sachets per second, Greenpeace reveals. So that is fueling the global plastic pollution crisis and dumping huge amounts of waste on countries in the global south, according to new figures released today, that was in November 2023, by Greenpeace International. Greenpeace have another report which showed that analysis shows that despite committing to less plastic, better plastic or no plastic, Unilever's plastic footprint has not decreased at all. It also promised to cut its virgin plastic use in half by 2025. But at its current trajectory, this won't be achieved until at least 2034. They don't care about reducing their plastic. They will love to say it just to get people off their back, just to give the illusion of doing better, but there's no evidence that they care. For anyone who's trying to say that them investing in Wild is a great move and shows that they really, really care about reducing plastic in our bathrooms, do you know what would have been a radical move? If they had made Lynx and Dove plastic free. Those are two of their biggest brands and some of the best sellers in the UK, probably globally as well. They have the power to change the packaging that Dove and Lynx comes in. And they have an incredible customer base there. If they made those products plastic free, do you know what sort of impact that would have? That's wild. I just don't know how anyone's pretending like this is them doing good when they actually have the power to do good and make change and be radical and really reduce plastic there. But they haven't. They've decided to just buy a company and kind of distract us with it, I guess. It feels like they're just buying up the eco alternative and calling it climate action, when it's like you are, if not one of, the biggest seller of plastics in deodorant. You're the problem. Like, sort out the problem you're creating instead of kind of like buying the better alternative and being like, look how good we are. I think that's what frustrates me the most, is because they have the power to change Dove and Lynx and they're choosing not to. This isn't them doing the best they can with the tools available. on this part of the problem of the plastic crisis. You know, it's so far from it. The potential of what they could do versus what they're doing, really, it's like very frustrating. I don't feel like that is a sentiment I've seen online. Don't think this is one of the reasons that a lot of people are frustrated by it, but it's my particular biggest reason. It just makes me want to punch stuff. But yeah, they're just awful for plastic. Don't let this convince you otherwise. They're great at buying stuff and they're great at selling stuff and they're great at causing more waste. Rely on them to do that. But yeah, also there was that piece in the news article where the founders are like, yeah, they'll just let us do our thing and they're just here to support us. And considering the Ben & Jerry's lawsuit is like so big in the news right now, I just found it like just so frustrating to read. Okay, fine. Wild is not a political brand, whereas I feel like Ben & Jerry's, they were acquired by Unilever like back in 2000. So I do not have a memory of Ben & Jerry's back in that day. But from what I've heard, they've always been quite into like politics and social justice and stuff like that. And I think for a while it was kind of okay-ish under Unilever. I think they had some issues, but it's really come to a loggerheads lately because mostly because of Palestine and Trump. But yeah, let me get up a BBC article for this. So one of the big headlines was Ben & Jerry's boss ousted over political activism. So this was March 2025, so very, very recent. Ben & Jerry's has said its chief executive David Stever was being removed by its parent company Unilever in a growing dispute over the ice cream company's political activism. And the allegation is part of a legal case filed in the US court by Ben & Jerry's that says Unilever violated a merger agreement by trying to silence its social mission. It comes months after the ice cream company accused Unilever of demanding that it stop publicly criticising US President Donald Trump. Oh yeah, see, Ben & Jerry's has long been known for taking a public stance on social issues since it was founded back in 1978 by Ben Cohen and Jerry Greenfield. It's backed campaigns on issues like LGBTQ plus rights and climate change. And they were bought in by Unilever in 2000 through a merger agreement that created an independent board tasked with protecting the ice cream brand's values and missions. But Unilever and Ben & Jerry's have been at loggerheads for a while. Their relationship soured in 2021 when Ben & Jerry's announced it was halting sales in the West Bank, so occupied Palestinian territories. And the dispute escalated over the last year as Ben & Jerry's advocated for a ceasefire in Gaza. And then in November, the ice cream company filed a lawsuit saying Unilever had tried to stop it from expressing support for Palestinian refugees. And then last month, in another court filing, Ben & Jerry's said Unilever had tried to ban it from publicly criticising Donald Trump. So yeah, all of this is going on in court at the moment. I'm going to leave the full link for the BBC article down below. But generally, not good vibes from Unilever, you know? And just an example that Ben & Jerry's are not enjoying their time with Unilever because they are trying to stamp something a bit beyond increasing the profit margin. And it's not meshing well. And when Unilever says they're not going to interfere in a company, maybe they will. I'm going to be honest, I wasn't buying Wild anyway. I have tried using it before and it just left me in a rash. Like solid deodorants in general do not work on my body. We're all a bit different and I know they can work wonders for some people. But God, I tried. I probably did like 3 years of like really trying to make it work and could not find a solid deodorant that like left me stink free or didn't irritate my skin. So I did eventually give up. So I'll tell you what I use in a second, but I was like scrolling through Reddit because I know these deodorants work for so many people and a lot of people love them. So if you are looking for an alternative, I'll leave the Reddit link down below, but Nude and Fussy were recommended quite a bit, but also Make Waves was specifically recommended by one user because they said that it fit the Wild tube. So if you don't want to buy a new like refillable tube, which obviously I don't think you will, Make Waves is apparently one that fits according to a Reddit user. So I haven't checked it out myself, but I will leave the link to the Reddit post and yeah, you can look around for yourself. So yeah, what I use is Salt of the Earth and it is not like plastic free, obviously, like look at this, but it is refillable. Yeah, one roll-on refill uses 65% less plastic than 7 roll-ons. And basically this is 7 bottles worth, was it? It's vegan, it's cruelty-free, and you just unscrew it here and you refill it. And it's lower plastic usage than other brands and I just really like it. And I use this and I have been using it for a long time and it works really well for me. I find this one pretty gentle and works for me most of the year, but every now and again when it gets a bit hotter or I'm getting a bit sweatier, I do find that the spray works a bit better in that situation. But this one's a bit gentler onto my skin, so sometimes if my skin is feeling particularly sensitive, this can irritate it as well. I've got both and they cover me throughout the year. So if I'm not using one, I'm using the other basically. Like I say, both of them refillable. So yeah, that's what I use. Again, not a perfect solution, but I think if you are on something a bit more classic like a spray or a roll-on, I think this is the best eco vegan alternative out there, and I really recommend it and really love it. That is what I use and what I use instead of Wild. If you want to see my review of Wild, I will leave a link down below because it really broke me out and I did not love it, and I think I talked about this brand in it as well, and I've been using it ever since, and that video was probably 3-4 years ago. So yeah, let me know down below if there are any reasons I missed and why we should boycott Unilever, because I know there are plenty and I tried to keep it kind of like concise and relevant on this one, but there are a lot of reasons, so feel free to like have a Google and go down that hole, honestly. But yeah, feel free to leave like the ones that really put you off them in the comment section, and any other acquisitions in the past that have really got your blood boiling. I feel like the biggest one ever was definitely when L'Oreal bought The Body Shop, and they no longer own them, but that I really remember. And I was quite young at the time, but it was big. Like everyone was talking about it, not just the vegans, not just the vegetarians, but everyone. So it was a big one. Hope you enjoyed the video, hope you enjoyed the chat, hope it got you thinking, and hope to see you again soon. Okay, bye. Mwah.